Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today. We're going to give it another minute or two here just to get people some time to log in before starting, and we'll get this on the road here. Alrighty, well, let's get this going. My name is Josh Parker, and I'm an outside rep here at BayWa. I'd like to introduce Darren Jones, Michael O'Brien, and Dale Critchley from Terragen Solar. Terragen is the newest partner at BayWa here, and we are really excited about this partnership. We're excited to offer their top-tier commercial flat roof solar options across Canada, and I was lucky enough to already have a sneak peek here and some sales training, and excited to learn more with everybody here today. Continuing education is important here at BayWa, so we appreciate you attending and taking the time out of your busy day to join us in Terragen. If you have any questions, be sure to type them in the chat box at the bottom right corner. We'll answer questions as we go here, and then also have a Q&A at the end for anything that might have been missed. On that note, can I have somebody just throw a test in the chat box to make sure everything's working there? Perfect, looks like everything's good there. Lastly, this is going to be recorded and shared on our YouTube channel, and as it will be sent out in our monthly newsletter as well. If you haven't already, we encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll find all of our webinars there. But I will pass the reins over to Terragen, the Terragen team here, and Darren, so take it away.
Cannot hear you, Darren.
Hi, everyone. Thanks and welcome. We're really excited and happy to be here presenting the offering of our TXL solution through BayWa. The partnership's been quite a while in the making, and what I would consider two leading brands within the Canadian solar industry coming together to provide value for installers, EPCs, developers, and all of the above. As we get going here, we're going to look at the agenda. So we're going to start with a background, who we are, how we came to be, look at some of the value add and what the partnership will mean for you folks. We're going to go through the TXL design overview, the product specifically being offered through BayWa and stocked. We're going to look at some of the engineering support that you can expect from us in terms of drawing packages and ongoing support for your installations. We're going to look at some of the installation steps and how the system goes together. And then we'll round up with a Q&A period. So a quick background on the company. My name's Darren. I've been with Terragen pretty much since its inception. I am the president here. Terragen was founded by my father back in 2009. The background of Terragen is an interesting story and one that might resonate with many of you, in that Terragen was established to be an EPC and developer. And so for the first few years of our company, we spent building rooftop solar projects, installed a lot of different racking types. We got into racking sort of inadvertently, primarily as a complementary product for our EPC division, which we quickly gained traction on our racking offering. So we started selling the racking systems through a formalized racking division. At the cancellation or sunsetting of the FIT program, we decided to shut our EPC division down and focus strictly on the racking aspect of the business. So for clarity, we no longer offer EPC or installation services, but the foundation of our racking division was based on that. And so a lot of the requirements and needs and wants of EPCs and installers, we have a good understanding of. Where we are today, so our systems are sold across Canada. They're going to be accessible through BayWa in multiple stocking locations. We also service the US and the Caribbean markets. A couple milestones about the company. Like I said, 2009 we were founded, so we've been in business for 17 years. We've got over 3,000 racking projects supplied to date, which equates to over 850,000 modules supported by our solutions. High repeat customer purchase rate. We really put an emphasis on upfront design work, on-site support and installation support, and it tends to lead to customer loyalty, and people that work with our products tend to enjoy it and continue to work with it. To date, our racking solutions are on over 400 megawatts worth of projects. So we're excited to expand that with the BayWa partnership.
Yeah, I guess I can jump in now. How's it going, guys? I'm Dale. I'm a part of the sales team here at Terragen. I've been with the company 4 years as of the end of this week. Today I'll kind of walk you through, go through the TXL system that we'll be offering through BayWa and the advantages that we will be seeing. We're excited to be partnering through BayWa and leverage their distribution network across Canada to help bring better product availability to the market. The TXL system is a landscape rail-based system. We have released it at the beginning of 2025 in reaction to the onset of the MBC 2020 and the provincial adaptations. Since then, over the last year or so, we have 30 megawatts of the TXL system installed or to be installed and have been getting very great feedback so far. The TXL system is made up of 4 major components. The first being the base rail. It is a continuous rail that would run north-south throughout the array. This rail does come hole punched with the pattern of the design that we'll get more into later on to accept the tilt assemblies, the ballast rail, and the wind deflector. This is a pretty standard set of bill of materials per panel, with the exception of some splices or east-west rails for connecting throughout the array. Through BayWa, the configuration that is going to be offered is a 10-degree tilt angle with a 58.5-inch module front to front. You'll commonly hear us at Terragen refer to the spacing as the front to front, which, as can be seen in this picture, would be the front of one module to the front of the next module. The reason we talk in this sense is with a rail-based system, the whole pattern is set in the rail and accepted by the triangles. So as we fluctuate between panel sizes, the inner row spacing would get bigger or smaller, but the front to front dimension would be the same, matching the length and whole pattern of the rails. With the current design shown on screen, with an assumed module width of 1134 millimeters, which is the most common design we're seeing these days with the 550 and 620 watt modules, it would work out to be a 14.5-inch inner row, or about 369 millimeters.
Yeah, Dale, if I can just jump in for a second. I know you'll touch on this on the installation efficiencies, but one thing I want to point out here is the base rail hole pattern comes pre-punched. And so there is not the ability for on-site adjustability. And this is done intentionally. It's for constructability of the product, as well as those installation efficiencies. And so with those holes locked, the inner row is the variable if the module dimensions are different.
Yeah, adding on to that as well, the configuration and design data that went into this was leveraged from our almost 10 years of being exclusively a racking manufacturer. And so we've used the most common design that we see across the market. When going through the design and the release of the TXL system, there are a number of different ways that we validate the product. Some of them being the wind tunnel test completed by RWDI, peer-reviewed by a third-party accredited laboratory, resulting in a system that is compliant with NBC 2020 and all provincial codes. We also have many standards, UL 2703, UL 3741, and while those are a US standard, we try and go above and beyond on our certifications. We also have additional testing in other aspects, such as friction testing for seismic regions. We can get into on the next slide. With the TXL system, there's a number of different options to resist uplift. Most commonly is a ballasted solution. Our TXL system can accept a typical ballast block, which would be a 16 by 8 by 4 inch block, around 33 pounds. The other option would be through mechanical attachments. These mechanical attachments were pretty agnostic to what is out there in the market. We have the bracket and hardware, and then as far as the attachment goes, many of the common attachments on the market are compatible with our system. Under the NBC 2020, there has been a change to a lot of the seismic requirements, meaning earthquake lateral loading, and we have seen an increase in the areas and geographical regions where seismic loading is required. So more commonly now than ever are we seeing anchors having to be integrated for seismic resistance, even when we can offset the full uplift weight of the system with ballast.
Yeah, if I can just jump in on that as well, Dale. So with respect to seismic in particular, given the various building characteristics, there's ways in which we can design around the requirements for mechanical attachments sometimes, not always. And so we really do need to go through the full design process to understand what a project would require. And while the system itself has modularity and a standardized set of components, the specific bill of materials may change on a project by project basis, given the location and then the building considerations.
Yeah, that flows nicely into our next point, which would be our design packages. We'll open up some documents here. Initially, to prepare our design packages, we would request a technical planning form. That is what is on the screen now, which would be requesting information on site conditions, modules, building height, parapet height, things like that, everything we would need to consider going into our design of the system. With every project, there would be two packages that we would prepare. Both of them would be stamped by an engineer licensed to stamp in the province or territory where the project is. The first package we prepare is the load calculations package. This is an overview of the calculations and code references that we factor in when completing the design to arrive at the uplift and site locations for the system and resulting in essentially the ballast or anchor plan. The other package, and what a lot of our client base enjoys, is the construction package. So this stems back from our installation days when we were making more site-specific installation drawings for our installation crews. We prepared this document which starts off with some generic details of the system, how the splices go together, showing how the clamps click on the wind deflector, into the ballast configurations, and then we get into more project-specific details. This here is an outline of the rail plans of the system. So it would show where each rail is needing to be located, where each splice location is given, the dimensions between the rails, as well as dimensions to starting points of the building, which we can provide assuming a CAD file is given to us. The next page is the ballast plan, which would show the number of blocks to put in underneath each panel or in each racking bay. This would also include an anchor plan as well if anchors were needed on the site. Heading back into the presentation here, I'll walk you through some of the installation steps of the TXL system. As Darren mentioned earlier when we were talking about the design, it is a preset design and all the hardware and material comes to site in accordance to make that design, which allows for minimal on-site measurements and a rapid installation speed. Design or installation metric we got recently was a crew on one of their first installs was able to install the system, including racking, ballast, modules, and DC wiring in about 2 man-hours per panel. The first step of the installation would be laying out the base rail. Through laying these out, we also have a product that we call the base rail spacing jig, which would come included on all TXL orders. These jigs can be used to ensure the spacing between the base rails is consistent and in alignment with what is outlined in our design packages, as well as ensure the array stays square throughout construction. Once the base rails are laid out, the next step would be to install the ballast rail, which also serves as the east-west connection between the system. In the base rail, there's pre-installed riv nuts in the top of the base rail, so you just have to lay down the ballast rail and insert and fasten the hardware. Following to the next step would be the tilt assemblies. These are pre-assembled at that 90-degree bend at the top, which can be opened on site, the tilt legs folded out, lowered down onto the base rail, and bolted through the holes that are pre-punched in the base rail. On the top of the tilt assembly, you will find a stud, which we use for module placement. It doesn't have to be fastened in any way to the panel, but when you lay and drop the panel on top of the tilt assembly, you can slide it down until you hit the 2 studs, ensuring that the module is positioned correctly on the tilt assembly. From there, the end clamps of the system are an external click, so they would just snap on to the rail and they can be positioned above modules and torqued down.
Just focusing on this for 1 second, if you can go back 1 sec, Dale. I want to point out again the pre-punched base rails and the pre-installed rib nuts and the pre-assembled tilt assemblies. All of this goes into creating on-site installation efficiencies, where the tilt assembly is pre-manufactured, prefabricated. You align the holes on the tilt assembly up with the holes on the base rail, and it's bolts through. There's no north-south measurements. It's predetermined by that hole pattern. And so while this system does have east-west measurements from base rail to base rail, and then another measurement from inter-panel spacing, in the north-south direction, it's all predetermined.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks for adding that in. The final piece would be the wind deflector, which can be installed after the ballast and wiring is completed. And similar to the module positioning stud on the top of the tilt assembly, on the back legs of the tilt assembly, there are 2 protruding studs already integrated into the rails when they get delivered to the site that the wind deflector can just align and slide over the top, and the nuts can be fastened down. Going through installation, there are a number of different ways that we can aid in supplying you with the information you need to install the system as efficiently as possible. As part of our typical process, for every new installation crew or company, we would be happy to do a construction package walkthrough. This would include a more detailed analysis of the design drawings for the site and special emphasis on any unique or project-specific constraints or considerations. The other option is the TXL Installer Series. This is a YouTube playlist that we have. Let me show you a sample video here. This would essentially just walk through each step of the installation process. In this video is the setting up of the installation jigs. There's another step for basically every step of the way, a video just showing you what that would look like and what the proper method would be to install.
One thing to note as we're watching this, there's a generic installation manual for TXL, there's a project-specific construction package, and then there's the installation series video set. And so, especially for new installers, we recommend you review all of them, and then when we get to the construction package walkthrough, you'll probably have questions that allow us to address any questions, concerns. We can give you installation tips on the construction package walkthrough. Again, really just trying to do the necessary activities up front to allow you efficiency on site.
Yeah, that kind of brings us to the end of the summary of the TXL system. Just a quick recap of what we covered today is some background on Terragen and who we are and our long-standing familiarity with solar racking and projects in Canada, as well as the advantages and the onset of the partnership with BayWa that we're excited to offer, and the TXL design systems and engineering support. Just wanted to thank everybody again for taking the time to join this call today, and especially BayWa in particular for supporting us in this partnership and for making today possible for hosting this webinar. Now open up the floor to any questions. Be happy to answer.
Yeah, while we wait for some questions to fly in here, yeah, I just wanted to thank the Terragen team for chatting with us here today. They're going to be a great partner. Also, as you can tell from today, their technical team is top notch. So please reach out to your BayWa rep if you need to get in touch with them for any specific questions or information. Yeah, we encourage you all to check out our web shop for specs, install manuals, inventory, and pricing. And please be sure to check out our full webinar schedule on our website as well.
Hey, one thing, just to add into that BayWa has Terragen's full support from a technical perspective, and there's full alignment between us to have technical support given directly to installers and customers of BayWa. So don't feel nuanced by the relationship. We really are here to establish a process and communication channels that provide installers what they need when they need it. And so all of our technical team and support team you have direct access to, and we're here to support all of BayWa's customers and installers in the fashion that we've really become known for in terms of our service levels.
Thanks for that too, Darren. And yeah, just from our perspective, that was one of the most important things I think from both sides that we agreed that we want to make sure take advantage of and leverage, I guess, the strengths of both sides, and certainly on the technical aspect, we're not trying to stand in the way. We want it to be smooth. We're going to see how it works, and it's like anything new. We'll tweak it as we go, but it'll all be based on the feedback we get. And but we're really excited to get started here. So very soon. Let's see here. I don't see too many questions. I guess you guys hit it out of the park with like kind of pre-answering everything. I was excited to see you guys do have French documentation now, which is excellent. So that will be updated on our web shop just for everybody's knowledge. Looking forward to having that for sure. And then in terms of having stock, I think we're just finalizing the last little bits here of, you know, our initial stocking plan. But I think it's probably 6 to 8 weeks away, if I had to guess, for now. And then the plan would be that we have regular stock in our warehouses to be able to fulfill. We do see a lot of value in having that. So, and again, if ever you're, you know, if you want to help us with forecasting of any sort, and you're chatting with your sales rep, we're really interested to know and how we can do a better job at making sure that you have stuff you need when you need it. So That's great. I did have a question come in, and it was lead time from submitting a layout to getting an engineering package or drawing. Did we say it was about 1 week, you guys, or what did we agree on?
Yeah, for the full wrap, it would be a week for the draft design, and then up to a week for the stamp.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
in this case, I would suggest 2 weeks.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for the question too.
Yeah, I think adding on to that as well, one of the things that we might not have mentioned is generally our process here at Terragen is I showed that technical planning form. Typically with that and a layout is all we would need to prepare a design. Generally, the actual layout preparation is not something that we take on. We leave that up to you guys who are most familiar with the roof and have been to the site and understand the goals and targets of the system.
Yep. We do have another question. Said, is Terragen engineered stamped for the Quebec market?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, it's not a generic stamp. It would be a project-specific stamp. So flat roof is a little bit different than flush mount in the sense that we have to go through a site-specific design on every project, but
yep,
we are set up to support projects in Quebec and have stamping abilities in Quebec.
Perfect. I'm always, you know, when we can be in a room with everybody when we're doing our presentation, it's kind of nice because we can poll people there. I suppose we could probably poll on this webinar somehow. I just don't know how to. I'm interested to know how many of our customers have used Terragen so far, you know, to gauge an idea, because, you know, as we talk about any type of racking, really, flat roof, pitch roof, whatever it might be, there's always a couple different components, right? So I think obviously the elephant in the room, the biggest one is you talk about cost, right? Okay, well, what's my cost? But that's the cost for the material. What's my true cost though? Once I factor in labor, install speed, you know, engineering, all the other things with it. And so from our perspective, we were really happy with Terragen because we believe that it's got a great, you know, I think great results in all of those aspects, right? And so, you know, like with anything, it's a great product supported by, you know, an awesome team behind it. But so yeah, anyway, like I said, I was hoping to be able to poll folks, but I guess I won't, and we'll figure all that stuff out as we go. Labor and all the other stuff. Somebody is asking here too, Darren and Dale, can the TXL be configured for higher snow clearances? Does that mean there's like a standoff from the roof? Is that the idea, or?
Yeah, no, the configuration that this will be supported by it's standard. It's going to be dependent. The clearance from the roof surface to the leading edge of the module will be determined by the panel width.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not the ability for the customization that folks might have seen on previous product lines. The TXL system is a more standardized offering. Just the amount of flexibility that we've been able to offer on other product lines historically, it won't be the same with the TXL system.
Okay. I'm getting a question about rodent protection or recommendations. Do you guys offer that, or is it needed on traditional commercial roofs? I didn't.
Yeah, the question comes up periodically. I think Terragen's historical focus has been on commercial rooftops, where most installers are getting deviations from rodent protection. That being said, there's certainly cases where rodent protection is required. We can follow up, Real, with some documentation on that. What we see most common is companies going with, and customers, installers going with MLPE to address that. And then if they want to use,
around it, I guess. Hey? Yeah.
So that's not a straight answer, but we can follow up with some supporting documentation on how we would go about it or what we would recommend.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Don't see any other questions. Josh, I can pass it to you if you like, or.
Yeah, I went through everything that I needed to here. I'm not seeing any more questions or anything else coming in. So if there are any questions that pop up here after, be sure to reach out to your BayWa rep and they will definitely point you in the right direction. But other than that, yeah, no, thank you for joining us and our friends at Terragen. And yeah, we'll see you guys on the next webinar.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Brian.
much.
Thanks, everyone.
See you guys. Bye-bye.